Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Handmade by Ying with Donna. Today I'm working on the Vortex and it's going to be fun. We're on month 5 already and I'm up to week 19. So let's get sewing and see how many colors we're going to be adding into this one. As you can see, it's numbered all the way down to 4. So this one only has 4 colors. So let's fold them in. And as you work your project, you're going to get more familiar with all the coding that's in this. Like the GR is grasshopper, the LM is the lime, the RA. You'll learn these along the way, the more you play with your colors. And I like Legit Kits because they'll use that same system and they use the same fabric line all the way through all your projects. So you can't go wrong there. I like it when you order the full kit. That way you don't have to go out shop. But if you have ordered the box of the month, the PDF, that's great too. It's just going to be fun to see how you line up all of your colors. So we're going to look for the LM first, and that's the lime. And that's a significant amount. And I kept an overage pile from another month. And I often do that. So I'm looking at my color guide, making sure that I have everything that I need. So I'm going to go to the bottom, month 5, and it's my first piece. So I'm going to mark that off, and it's this piece here. So I'm just going to lay that aside. I know I don't need this one because it won't cover. So we'll slide this in, and you can look at your cutting guide, how they want you to cut. You can cut this way, and that's per their cutting guide. So they have a reason for telling you how to lay it out. So I would honestly, if you want to have extra fabric at the end, just to challenge yourself, lay it out like they're telling you. Pin in place. I do that every time. I'm not going to cut this little tidbit off, but I will go up into here. I put my hand here and I just go rough cut it in at a good 1/4 of an inch. And that way it covers your block in its entirety. You're going to foul this back into your system, and that, as I said, was the color lime. Our next color is going to be RA. So as you're working through, you're just going to get back in, and that's grasshopper. That's a new color that was added in last month. And we're going to look for our cutting guide. B5, B5-2, and that's telling me it's here. So I'm going to look for this little cut, and it's right here. So I'm going to mark that off. So I'm going to lay it down just as my cutting guide says, and I'm going to take that little section out. But instead, I'm going to come up to the corner here, and I'm going to lay it down, and that's where I'm going to cut this piece. Let me do it this way. That way I'm showing you multiple ways that you can do this with their cut guide. I'm going to slide it in because it's a corner piece. So let's lay it over this way. And you're going to just lay it in. I've got more than enough. So I'll slide it up. That's going to allow me my 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to finger press it right here. Then I'm going to use my roller just to give it that crease line. I'll pull this one back and trim it out. Right there on that line. I'll lay this here and file this back. I love the stickers that they put on it. That way, as you're working with your project, you can move it around anywhere you want on it. Okay. Make sure that you're putting your colors back into their right stacks, and then you won't have any issues. Lay this here. I'm going to fold it back and make sure that I'm going in the right direction per my cuts. Wiggle it down just a smidge. And I'm in place where I need it to be. over here and just line everything up. And I like to just double check myself. Snip your threads and you can pull your pins now. I like to pin my first piece. I'll finger press this up and then press away. Give it just a little bit of heat and that'll set it in place. Now we're going to look for GR. That's our next color here. And that's green grass. This is the first time that we've used this one. So I'm going to make sure, per my cutting guide, I have B5 and it's this section right here. So I'm going to look at the angle I'm going to be cutting and it's right here. So I'm just going to mark it off. That way I know the angle that they're telling me I need to cut this at, so I have enough overage for the top. So I'm going to lay it in here at the bottom. And make sure that I wiggle it up just enough because I don't want this in down here. I am going to pin it in place for just a second so that I can eyeball where I'm going to be cutting. I'm going to pick it up, hit the fold line. Sure that I've got that in place right where it needs to go. Now I'm going to unpin it and we're going to lay it over. I'm not worried about covering here because I know I'm going to, and we'll trim that out. Make sure everything's nice and flat. Trim your strings and then just fold it back. And from what I'm seeing so far, if you're using their cut guide as the example of the way they want you to cut, you have more than enough fabric. And I'll tell you that every step of the way until proven otherwise. So we're going to fold back here. And I sewed off my line here, and that's okay. I'm just going to break the paper and cut this right off. I will save that little piece and file this back into the GR for the green grass. The next one is HR. And as you can see, I've got multiple stacks. So I'm just going to have to look for the one for this month. And it's right here. Or it can be this one. I have ample. Or it could be the new piece that they sent. So I think I'm going to use this one. I'm not even going to trim this until the end. I'm going to lay it in place. Move all of my tools out of the way and just flip it over. Like I said, I keep all the scraps from the other months. Keep everything together. And you'll be glad you did. So I'll take all of these. As you can see, they use the same fabric line. It's Moda. And I'll put all of these away into the HR. We're going to flip this over. When I trim this out, there's still a good bit of fabric there. So when I trim this out, I will still continue to keep that as well. Iron away. Flip it over. and we're going to trim the block. So I'm going to just line it up just as I normally would. Move this out of the way. Come up on this side and repeat. Let's do this little section. This little dab, and we've got another week done. Let me put the label back on this fabric. I'll pull off that little bit of paper, and this will go back in under HR. You never know when you might need it. Probably never, but we like to save and see. So as you can see, we're starting to add more and more colors, and it's looking really pretty. So I want to thank you for joining me for month 5, week 19. It's been fun, and I'll see you back next week as we hit block 20. Take care, God bless, and have a fabulous day.